NanaKaye with NanaKayeDesigns.com and the Altered Book Nook on Etsy.com. In my last video series, the wedding album, designing a wedding album with a lined journal, we used one of these books like this. And in doing so, I came up with a new technique in this one that helped me massively reduce the bulk. I'll show you the wedding album because it's not gone yet. It will be gone as of this afternoon. But as you know, we reduced that book by pulling out, we pulled out a lot of signatures out of it. This book was in groups of 4 pages for signatures, and we pulled a lot out. But what we did then was we also ripped all the line pages out because the line pages had perforation in it, which left this little white strip right here. And instead of gluing our printed pages that we were going to design, that we had in our kit, we just pulled this whole sheet out by pulling out the perforation right there. Okay, remember? And if you didn't see that, you can see that. But that left that little lip right there, and we then would take one of our pages and we glued it right to that strip. Okay, so that gave me the idea. Okay, then if I'm going to alter books that already have lined pages in it, but they don't have a perforation, how can I get the same technique and do the same thing? Because it massively reduced the bulk in the center of the book. Now, because I stitched the sides, of course, I got a little bulk there, but we have a lot of space left to add photos and things inside, in between here. And this is the area you want to be able to work with the most, because this is where you're going to add your cards, your journal cards, your tags, your pockets, your flip outs, everything gets attached within that, most of the time within that center area. So, I told you in that video I was going to start doing videos, and I was not going to pre-plan, and that I was going to get on here and just do like I do in my shop when I'm actually working and I'm not actually teaching classes or whatever. I just experiment with things. That's what we're going to do. What I have here is a spiral notebook. I get it from a little place. I guess Ollie's is probably nationwide in the United States. Now, I don't know about other places, but you can get these little spiral notebooks just about anywhere. I pay $3 for these books at Ollie's. Of course, I'm sitting here picking like I'm going to pick this sticker off, and Ollie's doesn't take into consideration that you may want to preserve the outside of this book. But anyway, we'll worry about cleaning it off later. Sometimes fingernail polish removal will help take that off. We're not going to use the cover anyway, or we are. We're going to keep the cover, but we're going to recover it, okay? This will probably be covered with a cloth. Not sure. The problem is, I know a lot of people say, well, when you do that, you still got that edge sticking out. Well, that's okay, too, because we also are going to probably take some kind of a cloth that just kind of wrap around it. It'll still leave the wire binder available to remove, but we'll go into all that later. That's my idea. But my thing was, what can I do to get this book to be very similar to that book so that I can remove all these pages and not have that bulk? And that's what we're going to do. So here's what I decided. I got a really heavy piece of cardboard that I use to make my covers with a lot of times. And I laid it right up against that wire. And I just pulled up just a few, enough that I feel like I can still cut comfortably. And I pulled it as far this way. Now, I pushed the cardboard as far that way as I could, and I'm pulling the sheet as far this way as I can. And I'm going to lay it down like that to lay flat. That way, if I do every one the same way, hopefully we'll get the same thing. And right at the end of the lines on this journal, leaving that much of a lip right there, I'm going to cut, and I'm going to do this a little slower than I would. I need to do it slow and steady because we want this to be even. So that leaves us that lip that we're going to work with. Then when I want to go cut my pages and stick them in here, I got to trim all these to fit, but we'll be able to glue that to the strip to that, and we're going to have the same general technique that we had there. I will probably stain these, whatever stain color I use around whatever pages I put in here, I will do that. I will cut this particular kit that I'm working with down. What you just saw was a preview of our Tickled Pink Christmas. It's a Tickled Pink. We're getting ready to release that into our Etsy site and our NanaKaye Designs website. Haven't done it yet because I wanted to get through the other one that we were working on, but we'll get that done. I'm getting ready to stitch those others together and we'll finish that series. I've got too many projects going at one time. This wedding really messed me up, but this is what we're doing now. I will stop the video. I won't make you sit here and watch me cut all these, but just a few at a time. Don't try to cut too many. And in a few minutes, I'm laying these aside because I'm going to count how many pages I ended up with. I don't even know how many's in this book. I don't think this tells us. I don't think it tells me how many's in here. I'm going to look and see if it tells me how many pages. It doesn't, but I'm thinking at least 100, maybe 200. I don't know. But anyway, we'll count. But still just grabbing a few at a time. Same technique. Pushing here and pulling here. Hopefully with them all about the same. I'd rather have the perforations, but since I didn't, and since more of the books that I get are designed like this, it just gives us something new to work with. And if you really wanted to, you could really just count how many sheets you actually wanted to make your book and pull the rest out, and you wouldn't have to go through this. And that's maybe what I do. I'm going to go back and count what I've already done in the other. And I may even add more. This is just going to be fun. This technique here is going to give me so much more space to be able to do so many more flip outs and pockets and envelope flips and so many more things that I haven't been able to do because I started getting an alligator mouth, and I detest alligator mouth on my books. So I had too many there, y'all, to cut all the way through. So do pay attention to that. I have a little bit of arthritis, so it is too difficult for me to try to cut too many at a time. But that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go now with the rest of this book. I'm going to pause the video a few minutes, and I'm going to go in and cut this and get this book prepped, and then I'll stop and come right back and let you know what we're going to do from there. I cut out 42 pages of the book. The reason I cut out 42 is because I actually have 42 of each of these pages that I have pre-planned to make a journal out of. So that leaves all this many pages in this book that we're not, presumably not going to use. But for right now, they're not in the way. They're not bothering anything, and I don't think I'm going to take them out right this minute. I think I'm going to leave them in there for right now. But this ended up with just beautiful little perforated areas here, and I feel sure we're going to be able to attach these with no problem and stain them on pink, the same pink that we're going to use on the stain on the edges of this particular album. I'm going to next go ahead and measure and go ahead and cut these pages down to where I need them. It's not much off the top and the bottom, so I'm not going to lose much design at all. Yeah, I'm thinking this is going to work for us, guys. I think this is going to be a way that we can really add a lot of stuff to our journal and not get alligator mouth. So let's hope this is going to work for us. So I am going to cut off now again the video. This one's going to end this one, and I'll splice the next video onto this one. But stay tuned and let's see how this works out. We're going to work this from start to finish. I don't know how many video series it's going to take to get it done. I am really curious to see what it ends up being here. So just bear with me because you're learning just at the same time I am. And let's get this Tickled Pink Christmas Journal made in this series. So now we'll be working on 3 series as we're going along. We'll be working on the Sunny Summer Days. We're finishing that one up. We're going to be working on the Traditional Christmas, and we'll be finishing that one up. And those will be standard journals that are made from total scratch. And then we'll be doing this altered book here in the Tickled Pink. Okay, so this is NanaKaye. I'll be back in just a little bit, so stay tuned. Okay, guys, here is where we've gotten on this book. Now, I am at the point now I'm having to cut the video off and do some work because there's a lot it's kind of new to me, and I'm learning along with you guys. What I ended up doing is I took my signatures and I went ahead and cut this one all down the way I needed it. I went to my sewing machine and sewed the edges like I do in most of my books. I always want this edge here. It just helps protect the sides of the pages from me. And then I wanted a doily in the book, so I've gone ahead and sewn the doily into this first signature. As you know, we were working on this strip here, and we were going to glue the pages, which is what we've done. We're gluing the pages. Now, the first one I started out with, I just left this white and glued it on, and it was a little difficult to work with it solid white and then trying to stain it because it put too much stain in my page. So what I am doing, the first thing I want you to know is I am staining the strips first with the Victorian Rose or Victorian Velvet. That is the color I'm using with my Tickled Pink book, the Victorian Velvet, and I'm staining first. Initially, I had two thoughts. Again, like I say, I'm learning with you. My first thought was, well, I'm a little nervous about how easily these tear out. When you're designing a book, especially if you're designing for someone else, quality matters. Quality absolutely matters. And if they're trying to flip through their book and add stuff and all of a sudden their pages start ripping out, that's going to be quite a disappointment, especially if you're selling a book for up in the $75, $100, $125, $200 range. I've seen books go as high as $400. You do not want the customer to be dissatisfied because all of a sudden their page is ripped out and they have no idea how to fix it or what to do. My first initial thought, and you'll see it back here, was to go in and put the little ring protectors in just a few little places on the book and strengthen that. Go ahead and strengthen that page. And to save bulk, on the first page, I put it in these three spots, and on the second page, I moved it one down and one up, one down, so that we wouldn't actually be bulking really high in one area. So that's another thing. If you're going to put the rings on a single strip, you can. But as I was doing that, and I may still keep doing it because I've started it, so it's kind of a pattern in the book. I will keep doing it, but not necessarily a necessity anymore because I thought of something else as I was working. When I was putting the pages in, I realized, okay, well, I have all these pages left. We haven't torn them out yet. So what I decided, I said, okay, here's what we'll do. We'll take and stain two of these, one on the front side and one on the back side. And then I'm going to glue two of these together, which is going to give me the added strength I need to kind of stop that bulking, not the bulking, that's easily pulling out. We don't want it to rip out. So that's going to make it a little harder for the book to rip out as we're just going along. Normally, I would just use the stick glue, but it's kind of cool in North Carolina this morning. And then you also something going between there. You don't need to do between the wires. You don't need to glue any further than right up to that first ring there. But normally I would do the stick glue, but it's cool, and my stick glue is really cold and it's not going on well, so I am trying to put a light coat and then smearing my Barely Artful in, but then I'm just pressing everything forward like this and just taking my fingernail and just kind of just pressing a little to get to get the old one glued to this one. So now what I've ended up with right here is two pieces, and I've got a lot more strength in that. Now I'm still going to add the rings on. I'm still going to add my little rings onto it, but I'm probably going to do it first like this. From this point on, I'm going to go ahead and add it on like this, trying to keep it, where the bulk is not so much in one spot. There again, still moving it from one to the other. This one we'll do the bottom one. So I'm going to go ahead and put the ring protector there. And then I'm going to stain that too, a little bit. Just give it a little bit of stain. That kind of makes it blend in, and it's not sticking on top of the page like I have it here. I really didn't like that look. I'm going to leave that for now because this page I'm going to be putting stencil on anyway. It's not going to matter. But I really didn't like all that, all these blank pages. Now on the decorated pages, it looks fine. You really can't even see it because they're made out of the same background as the background sheet. Okay, so this is what I've gotten, and this is what I'm doing now. I'm adding, like I say, I'm doubling these strips up. You can even make them 3 strips if you want. It depends on how thick you want it, but I feel like I can pick this book up and not worry about that page ripping out at this point, especially when I put these little extra rings on it. Okay, so that's where we are. This is where we've gotten so far. The book is looking absolutely gorgeous. I feel like I'm getting the same feel. I'm getting the same feel that I was getting before in the wedding album. I feel the bulk gaining here and here, but I've got a lot of air in between these pages. And that means I can add tags without adding bulk. I can add pockets without adding bulk. We've got space, and that's what we're after in this book. So just to give you a peek, this is where we are, and adding the pages, they turn beautifully. I added the dolly in here and got that pretty page. So this is where we are with this technique. It looks like it's going to work. So while I am doing mine, if you want to do this, you go ahead and get your book prep and start fixing your pages. And let me add to that. You can use any sheets of paper, any kits that you have. You do not have to use specifically the one that I'm showing you that I'm designing my book with. Any kit will work with this. Any design kit, any of your 12 by 12 sheets can be cut down to fit. Everything works. So guys, the sky's the limit with these spiral notebooks. Sometimes they're a dime a dozen. Sometimes you can find them in yard sales. So let's go on with this and see how it turns out. Bear with NanaKaye, please. Again, I'm having to pop this together in a series of videos that's going to be edited together. So they're just a little spongy as we're going across as you're going watching the video. But the idea here is to teach you what I'm doing, not to make it look like some fancy, easy task, because this is work. This is really a chore, but it's a chore of love. If you love to craft like I love to craft, this is a chore of love. So go on and get your book prepped, and let's go on and start moving on with this. And I will be back in just a few minutes, hopefully, when I've gotten, I may start the next one when I've got this one ready, starting on the second signature. And then if I have to start pulling more pages out, I will jump in and let you see where we are on that. And if anything else comes up about strengthening the edges or some kind of other process comes up that I might use, I'll pop back in real quick before finishing up and let you see that. I'll be right back. Okay, I have 2 more pages on this first journal to go through, and I thought, well, you know what, I would at least do a couple of them on the video so you can actually see me walk through the actual technique of doing it. Sometimes just to explain to you what I've done is not always sufficient for everyone, so I'm going to just kind of show you the technique that I'm using. Let me put my glue back in because this heat is running and it does kind of dry out quick. All right. Again, I put a protective sheet under when I'm staining. Not that it matters because these are sheets we're going to wear out anyway, but just for having precautionary measures, I do. I'm using this brush because I'm getting a whole lot easier. The bristles are going up in between the wire a little easier than that sponge was doing. So I am using a brush. You can do it with a sponge. You can do it with a paintbrush if you don't have one of these makeup brushes. But I would suggest you get some of these. I've got them in all colors here. So I would suggest you get them because they do come in handy at times. I was trying to keep this a little bit lighter as I was going through the book because it doesn't really have to be that dark, just a little bit of stain. But I do want to make sure we get a little bit behind the wires so it's just not so all of a sudden in your face white sticking up there. Again, I told you I am doing the front of one piece, and then I flip my book completely around like this. And this is where the protective sheet is really necessary against the back here. Put it underneath there. And if that makes you even nervous to do it that way, do it like this. put it down like this. But it's not, for me, it's not pulling this up as high as I need it. So I am having to do it this way. And I'm just having to be real cautious and not letting this paper slide and hit my other one. But it's just a simple technique of staining, but sometimes there are like I said, but there are sometimes techniques to things that you do. But this brush, like I say, if I do it this way, I can get down in between those wires. If you're still having a lot of white showing, let me get up into the video here, I'm sorry. If you're having a lot of white showing still behind this wire here, I find that if I see it, because when I turn it this way, I can see it more. I find that if I brush the base part of my brush like this part right here, and then do like that, it kind of goes between, and yes, I'm probably destroying my brush, but it's a matter of, I can replace the brush. I got to get the book looking like it should look. But that kind of goes in between with the brush itself. Them white places in the back just don't show up as bad. So that's what I end up with when I've got a stain strip done. Okay, see, and all that's protected. All right. Also make sure that you're turning your book back up when you lay your page down, that you're getting the right page together. Then I've got, I've done the wrong strip. Okay, we'll do it again. I didn't mean to do the back of that one. I should have done the back of the second one. But that's okay. Doesn't matter. I'm going to glue it together. Do one more. Okay. I don't know why in the world I hadn't thought about doing this, because I have hundreds of these spiral books that I buy all the time when I go to Ollie's, especially when they put them on sale for $1.99. I rack up on these things, and I had not been using them like I wanted to. I started out using them early in my career of doing this, but I kind of got away from it because there again, I was dissatisfied with how easily the sheets tore out, and I just didn't like it. And I didn't see a lot of other people doing it on videos on YouTube. And I thought, well, maybe people just don't like those journals. But you know what? This is going to be me. And if this is just my technique, and I like it. So I guess really a lot of what you do when you're crafting, you do things you like. And hopefully somebody else will like it too. Okay? Same thing. We're going to go down, right straight down, which is a really thin line. And our best tool, the best tool that we have in our kit, our fingers and our hands, and just kind of strip it like that. Pull the other one back over, push everything forward. Got to get them lined up. Okay, that one's not lining up. It's stuck too quick. And that's another reason I like the stick glue. But like I say, it's just too cool this morning. This is bright and early on a Saturday morning for me. Got a wedding at 4 o'clock this afternoon, so I can't be over here long today, but I just felt like coming and crafting some this morning. Okay, so that strip is kind of stained, ready to go. All right, so we're going to glue again, so always put a protective sheet behind. We're going to be gluing our beautiful dolly with our snowman. And I hopefully by the time I get these videos online, you will actually be able to go in and look at the kit, if the kit is what you want for Christmas, a Christmas journal. Hopefully I'll have it ready. And I know you saw me just glue it twice, but I am gluing the page on, so I want to be a little more cautious. And I need my wipey, and I lost it, but that's okay. Now, for the pages, I told you earlier, or I might not have told you, I accidentally cut them just a little too small when I cut them apart, because I originally started out with, just to fold it over. I was going to do the standard journal, but I didn't. I decided to cut it apart and do it this way. So I had cut them just a little bit too small. So what I decided to do when I'm putting my book together was line everything up at the bottom one, like this. And then again, I told you I am going right up to the edge of the hole to keep everything straight, just like that. And pressing down okay? And then I flip it over and I press that side down really tight, okay? And then when you look at it, if you look at the book, you see that I have just a little bit sticking up right there. And this is not nice and clean line like I like. So I pull the book up like this. I get it at an angle or a way I can cut it comfortably. And then I get my scissors right there and I just snip that excess off. And that way everything is working and falling in line. This book is just falling in line so beautifully, guys. I love it. Okay, we've got one more on this particular signature. So let's do it one more time so that you guys are seeing the technique. And if you're bored, you can fast forward the video a little bit. I apologize, but I just want to make sure everybody is seeing how I do it. Sometimes there's purposes for everything. And, of course, comments below if you know another way that works for you and you want to share it with everybody. Believe it or not, people read these comments quite often. I'm seeing more. I read them anyway. I read all the other people's comments. So I'm going in again with my stain and my brush. Like I said, it doesn't have to be perfect because the book is pink and white. But flipping it over again to make sure that I kind of get those edges. And it slipped out from under, so I still want to put it back. And I got to try to remember to do the right one and not take too much time. But there again, just a little bit more off this back edge here. And just brush it between those lines. Okay, that one's done. Flip that one over because we need to. Remember now we've gone to doing a double strip to help us strengthen our book. So we're going to do the back side of the next strip. Go like this. Make sure, especially when you're working on the printed side, that you've got your protector sheet in place. And then there we go again, just staining away. A pretty stained edge here. And it is being stubborn now. Yeah, because I'm videoing. When I'm not videoing, none of this stuff happens. Isn't that strange? I wonder if other videographers have that problem. But anyway, when I'm not videoing, then everything just goes smooth. I'm like, okay, well, I can show them how to do that. And then I get on here, and here's what it does. That's okay. I don't care. That's all part of crafting. Nothing ever goes totally smooth. All right, so make sure again, you always make sure you get back up right before you start gluing because you really could mess up there. Get your glue sheet back in place. Run your line of glue right down there. Again, you want this one kind of light because you don't want it to wrinkle. And again, I would have preferred my stick glue, but until it warms up today, I'm not going to be able to use the stick glue. And so far, this has worked fine. I'm not going to complain. Press the two together. There you go. Pressing them together, as you see. Then I take my beautiful long fingernails, and that's what I do. My favorite tool, my fingernails. All right, here we go. Now we've got it stained. If you wanted to put the little ring binders on, you would put them on now before you glue your page on, but I'm not going to do this one for the sake of the video because I haven't got any punched out and don't have to have them anyway. All right, so now again, the page is always, and another thing I want to reiterate, I always make sure that the page is being glued to the top of the side. That way, the back to the one that's always got the longest part of the strip, the front has the smallest part of the strip. It just uniformity, that's the way I'm trying to do it. If yours looks better with it done one way or the other, it really doesn't matter. But for me, I'm trying to keep everything uniform. So I am using it all on the front this way, on this side, and then the back side has a lot wider strip. That's just my technique. You do it, you will develop your own techniques. Okay, again, I start at the bottom because that's where I'm lining everything up at, then to the edge of the holes and press down, flip over and press down again to make sure you've got a good seal. All right, and we have got the first signature done. Open the book and clip off that excess right there at the top. Just gently clip it off. And you now have in your spiral notebook your first signature done. Well, I have my first signature done. And there it is. It is in there, and I think it's flipping nice. It's moving nice. The flow is pretty. The colors are nice. I absolutely love this technique, and I absolutely love the way this journal is turning out. So, again, I will be back in a few minutes. I'm not sure if this is going to be just part one or if we're going to go on. I will check the timing. I'm going to try to keep each of these videos in part one, part two, part three, however many parts it takes. I'm going to try to keep them about 40 minutes so that you're not tired, so that you have time to watch it all the way through while you're in one area. Keep prepping, guys. I'll be back after I get this one cut apart, sewn, and start gluing in. Be back soon.